Hey folks, Ben with Snarky Sayings. I wanted to go ahead and show you how to put together our can terrain. Our packs are flat packed. They come just like this whenever you purchase them. It's got a set of instructions or a link to our set of instructions on these. They come with all the parts. The only thing is they don't include the cans. These are 3 12 fluid ounce cans. I recommend using the same type of can throughout. That way, if there's a little bit of change between manufacturers, that they're all the same. Doesn't have to be a specific brand, just 3 12-ounce cans the same size. Can be beer cans, be soda cans, whatever you want. As always, I recommend using Bob Smith Industries Instacure and Instaset. You can use PVA glue. You can actually even use hot glue if you wanted to. But we're going to do this just to speed up the video and make it as easy to use. So here it is first off. I'm going to give you some dimensions real quick just to give you a good feel for it. So its overall length is about 8 inches. The height of this product is going to be about 5 to 5 1/4. It depends if you leave the top ring on. You don't have to, and if you buy 2 of these, you can actually glue them on top of each other to make a really tall piece of terrain. And then its overall width here is going to be a little under 3 inches. We did these originally just to give ourselves some really good line of sight blocking for Warhammer 40K and some other different miniature wargaming. And they look really good on the table. We like the feel of them. Gives you that industrial feel, stuff that you're looking for. We do make an orc set version of these, but you can easily take the industrial set and make it into a really anything you want. You can throw some of our bits on there, whatever you got. So first off, I start off with my aluminum cans. I went ahead and lightly sanded this one, and it would make it a lot easier to go ahead and paint. I recommend actually priming the can first, or sanding the can and priming it first before you assemble these. Makes painting this a lot easier. That way you're not having to get around different pieces. I also pop off the tabs, and then I recommend is getting a little bit of spray foam. This is actually just some, I think this is called Great Stuff. There's a lot of different brands out there. Most of them have a cure, so a full cure of about 8 hours. You would fill it up about halfway, and then the rest of it's going to expand, and once it's done, you would go ahead and just take a X-Acto blade and cut off the top of it. That way it's not putting pressure. But what this does is it helps keep the sides of the can from getting crushed in. You can crush them if you want to and add in the spray foam, and that way it gives it kind of a beaten up look. It just really depends upon you and what the look you're going for. So like I showed you, it'll come packaged just like this. We call it flat packed. It'll have a ladder. It'll have 4 pieces. I'll actually get it out real quick here. Let me get a piece that's already taken out of its packaging. So it'll come with a ladder, and then it'll have inside here, we usually refer to these as strips. So you'll actually have 8 strips in each one. Those strips are there to help maintain, give it a look. And they've got, actually, you can kind of see it just a little bit there, but they've got pieces that are actually higher or proud, and that gives it like a bolt-on feel. And then you have a flat piece here, you have another one, and then you'll have your 3 rings, and then these pieces which go around the sides of the can. You'll notice on these that these all line up, and that's on purpose. And these 2 are the really specific ones. These are actually for your ladder pieces. And the same thing again for the base plates. And these are what kind of keep the can from moving upwards and downwards, is you've got your 2 ladder pieces. So all of those will go ahead and line up when we're done today, and they'll line up just like that. So after I've sanded, spray foamed, and hit my cans with some primer, I'm going to go ahead and start gluing these together. So I've went ahead, I've matched 2 up, and I'm trying to keep this as best I can in the video. It is kind of difficult for me and do this at the same time. So like I said, I'm using Bob Smith Industries. So I'm going to go ahead, put a bead all the way around like that, and a little in the center. And I'm lining it up to this piece. I'm going to spray this down, and this just makes it where it just speeds up my process. You don't have to necessarily do this way. So I've lined up everything. I even tapped it down a little bit to make sure everything's going to line up. And you can, if you want to, you can use one of the strips to like help line it up. So you know it's going to set right there. And you can put them all across the edges if you wanted to. So now that I'm making sure this is glued, now that everything's glued up, I'm going to set that one off to the side. But I'm going to kind of keep an eye on it because I want to make sure that these two holes here for the ladder, they line up. And the same thing goes for this one. So the ladder holes line up just like that. And I'm going to make sure this one does the same thing. So I'm going to kind of keep them together like this so I know, hey, these all line up. So now that I've done that, I'm going to go ahead and glue. And if at any point during the assembly of something you've got a question or you're having a problem, reach out to us. We got our Etsy page. You can always message us, and we're happy to help with anything. Or you've got a question about, hey, how should I do this? Or I want to reproduce what you have in any of our photos. Go ahead and do so. We're happy to help. We make a lot of these for different tournaments. You know, I run one tournament where I'm at, and I help with a couple others, and so I'm happy to help with them. If you're in the Midwest, you might bump into us at a different show or see us working on a couple different places. So that one's gone ahead and seated. If you have a little bit of it's hard to see on these, but if you don't have it lined up straight, it's not a big deal. It actually kind of helps with keeping it tightened together. And you notice now I've got those so that when they line up, they're all straight down for the ladder. So I'm going to go ahead and set my cans in. And I would recommend is running a bead of hot glue on the inside of these and then sitting it down in there and pushing these together real tight so that when you do it, it has sets. It does make it a little more difficult when we're assembling these without that, but you couldn't do it without it. It's not a big deal. And like I said, with spray foam in here, these are actually got a little more solid to them. But for today, we're going to do it just like this, just so I don't have to get the hot glue gun out and see me trying to put that together that way. So we're going to do this a little easier. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just dry fitting right now just to make sure I've got everything lined up. And yep. So what I'm going to do is where I've got my gap here, I'm going to go ahead and run that same spot just along my strip here. And I'm doing it on all the flat sides, not the side that's got the little, I refer to them as bolts. I've had people call it the knobby bits. So whatever you want to call them. And I'm just seating the first one so I get a good hold. And I'm just going to let that dry for just a second while that one's going. And this is kind of nice. I can have it hold up. I'm going to repeat the process on the next one just so I can get ahead of the game here. And you don't have to watch me trying to glue a bunch of pieces. So same thing again. Line it up into my hole. It's flush at the top. Hit it with some Insta-Set. And I'll keep repeating this process all the way around. But while that one, just want to make sure that one's set real good. And that one's just about there. And like I said, if you're doing this PVA glue, you would, you kind of have to be a little more patient as it dries and goes across. So down here, trying to do this with cameras is always fun. So, and I can just do it like this, where I just run the glue into the hole. Did it on that one, just to kind of show you the differences. A little overspray on that. Just hitting that there. Putting a little pressure on it just to make sure it sets. I'm going to slide this to the side. Just repeating the process again. Putting a little bit of downward pressure on it just to make sure that it sets. And it's set inside this hole. And that's starting to hold together. I'm going to flip it over, and you would repeat this process. I'm just doing this, like I said, you would have it normally with glued, with like hot glue or something, but I'm doing it this way so that I can make this a little faster. So I'm going to go ahead and add in a drop of glue. I'm going to go ahead and seat this piece like that. I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some Insiset. I think my thumb got in the way. Okay, that's done. I'm going to slide this around. And as this is drying, like I said, I'm keeping side pressure on this so that it doesn't pop off, and we're keeping all these together. So now that I've got the one, I'm going to do this side real fast. And it's got some strength now from both sides, so it's kind of holding the cans in. I wouldn't have to do this normally if I just used the hot glue. I'm going to hit some Insiset in here on both ends of that, and that's going to make it a little faster for me to get right into the action inside there. And like I said, these work well. You can paint them however you want. You know, I like the rust colors and very industrial, Forge World-esque kind of look. And so I'm just waiting for it to finish. I hit a little extra on this side. I don't think I got it very good. So once it's done and set, oh, perfect. All right. So now I'm going to speed up here. So now I've got 3 on this side. They're not. That one's not all the way glued yet. Almost jumped the gun there. And like I said, you just keep a little bit of pressure on them to hold them in. And the nice thing is with these is when you got the straps done, you can kind of give them whatever look to. So I've done them silver, I've done them rusty. It's however you really want to do it. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another piece here and put some glue on it. Actually, I'll keep gluing the hole. So I've got my pressure on this, keeping it in there. And then I think this is the hardest part about these videos, is getting the camera and not my face in it. Or keeping the item in there and not my face in it. Okay. Let me lay that down for just a sec. Okay. And then now I'm going to seat both sides in. my last strip. And like I said, a little downward pressure. Just a little more insistent on that one, just to make it sure. There we go. And that'll strengthen it as time goes on. All right, so I've got my last piece, which is my ladder. Doesn't matter up or down. They're pretty much the exact same. I'm going to lay this one down just to make it the easiest to show you. And I'm going to add a little bit of glue, a little bit of glue, and a little bit of glue. So just like that. Same thing again. I'm going to go ahead and hit this with Instaset. I'm going to lay this guy down in there. And I am going to go ahead and put some downward pressure on it. Just trying to make sure it's actually set up. There we go. So now that I've got those, I could add my rings if I want to. If I don't want to add them to it, I don't have to. For the most part, they just kind of get placed on top. I actually have it spaced very evenly on these, so I can go ahead and put my little ring here. Just adding a bead of glue. And I can line up one hole and one hole, and that actually makes them really even. So there's no question about it. And the same thing again on this guy. And like I said, if I wanted to make this taller and I was going to add another section on, I wouldn't glue these rings down, but you can if you want to. Let me set that there. Hit that. Same thing again. And there you go. Now that everything's glued, I'd let it dry. I'd go ahead and prime this. I would actually pre-prime all my pieces if I wanted to, or just to have the cans done up first and then push these together. And you could have it done that way. So everything you'd prime separately and then you just glue it in. You could do it that way if you wanted to. You could do it just like this and prime the whole thing now. If you wanted to stipple it, all sorts of different ways. But now that that's together, like I said, just let it dry a little bit, and then you could game with it just as it is, or you could go ahead and finish painting it up. But happy gaming, folks. Thanks again.